The Summer I Turned Pretty, Season 3, Episode 11, gave us an ending that felt like a tidal wave, emotional, overwhelming, and unforgettable. Every look, every word, and every silence carried weight. Fans are still debating what the final moments really meant, whether Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah are finally stepping into the future or still trapped by the past. Today, let's break down what happened and uncover all the meaning hidden in that powerful conclusion. Asterisk before we dive into the ending. It's important to revisit the emotional roller coaster of Episode 11. The story begins with a fragile balance between Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. At this point, the love triangle has stretched thin, like a rope that's about to snap. Belly's feelings are not only about love, they're about identity, family, and the life she's outgrowing. Conrad and Jeremiah aren't just competing for her heart. They're also carrying the weight of their own grief and curious. The episode slowly builds tension through quiet conversations and small, intimate moments. Belly spends time reflecting on her choices, often replaying memories that connect her back to Susannah and the house that has always symbolized childhood summers. That house is more than a backdrop. It's a character in itself, standing as a witness to everything: the laughter, the heartbreak, the love. With each scene, you can feel the characters wrestling with the idea of moving forward while still holding on to the past. Meanwhile, Conrad's calm but guarded personality contrasts heavily with Jeremiah's open and fiery emotions. In several moments, Conrad shows signs of wanting to say something deeper, but he holds back. Jeremiah, on the other hand, pushes forward, trying to be the light in Belly's darker days, offering her a love that feels safe and dependable. This contrast sets the stage for the explosive emotions of the final act. Episode 11 also highlights the side characters in subtle yet meaningful ways. Laurel, Belly's mother, plays her usual role of quiet strength. She represents wisdom, but also reminds Belly that she can't keep hiding from her decisions. Stephen, Belly's brother, adds humor and reality checks. But even his voice can't cut through the storm that's building between the main trio. These supporting moments don't distract from the central love story. It's actually deepen it by reminding us how intertwined family, memory, and relationships are in this world. What makes this episode different from the ones before is the pacing. There's no dramatic fight in the middle, no loud confrontation. Instead, there's a steady climb toward something inevitable. Every word feels like it has double meaning. A glance across the dinner table, a walk on the beach with too much silence, the decision to sit beside one person instead of another. These moments feel small on the surface, but they are heavy with emotional significance. They set us up for the ending that leaves fans speechless. By the time we reach the final 10 minutes, the pressure is so strong, it feels like the characters might break under it. Belly is torn not just between two brothers, but between two versions of herself. One path leads to the safety of Jeremiah's warmth. The other path leads to the deep, complicated, almost painful love she shares with Conrad. Neither choice is easy, because both come with loss. Choosing Jeremiah means giving up the history she built with Conrad. Choosing Conrad means risking her heart on someone who has always been guarded and sometimes unreliable. This tension is what makes Episode 11 so unforgettable. It's not just about a girl choosing between two boys. It's about what happens when you reach the edge of adolescence and realize that love, family, and memory are far more complicated than you ever imagined. This recap sets the stage for the ending, an ending that feels both heartbreaking and hopeful at the same time. Asterisk. The final act of Episode 11 doesn't explode with chaos, it lingers. It breathes. It breaks you quietly. That's what makes it unforgettable. Instead of loud arguments or grand declarations, the episode gives us subtle moments that speak louder than any shouting match ever could. We see Belly standing at the edge of everything she's known, caught between the familiarity of Jeremiah's steady love and the haunting, unspoken bond she still shares with Conrad. The camera doesn't rush here. It lingers on her expressions, her hesitation, her silence. And in those silences, the audience can hear everything: the weight of summers past, the echo of Susannah's laughter, and the ache of knowing that growing up means leaving something behind forever. One of the most striking parts of the ending is how the house becomes. It's almost like a fourth character. The walls, the hallways, the beach, just beyond, it all feels alive. When Belly pauses at the doorway, looking back, you can see the conflict written all over her. This isn't just about romance. It's about whether she is ready to step out of childhood and into something unknown. The house represents every memory she's holding on to. And when she hesitates before walking away, it feels like she's asking herself, am I ready to let this part of me go? The interactions between Conrad and Jeremiah in this sequence are also layered with meaning. Jeremiah, ever open with his heart, tries to stand by Belly with confidence. His presence radiates warmth and loyalty. But you can sense his fear, tooth of fear, that despite all his effort, her heart may not truly belong to him. Conrad, on the other hand, remains quieter. His glances are brief, but they cut deep. The restrained way he looks at Belly tells us everything. He still loves her, but he doesn't know if he has the right to fight for her anymore. That restraint is heartbreaking because in his silence, he is both protecting her and hurting himself. The final scene brings these tensions together in a way that feels both intimate and devastating. Belly is forced to face what she's been avoiding the entire season, a choice. The choice isn't just between two brothers, it's between two futures. With Jeremiah, there's stability, light, and the promise of being cherished openly. With Conrad, there's passion, history, and the kind of love that terrifies you because of how deeply it runs. Neither is safe. Both carry risk. And the episode refuses to give us an easy answer. What makes this ending so powerful is not the clarity it provides, but the ambiguity it leaves behind. Belly's body language, the unfinished conversations, the looks that hang in the air, they all suggest that the story is far from over. Even the music in the background carries a tone of nostalgia, as if reminding us that summer's end. But the feelings they bring often linger long after. The very last shot seals the emotional weight of the episode. Whether it's Belly closing her eyes in reflection, or walking toward the ocean as the screen fades, the moment is drenched in symbolism. Water, waves, sunsets, these are not just aesthetic choices. They represent change, the constant flow of life, and the bittersweet truth that you can't hold on to summer forever. Just like the tide, love shifts, pulls, and sometimes crashes, leaving you unsure of where the shore even begins. And so, episode 11 closes not with answers, but with questions. Will Belly have the courage to stop running from her true feelings? Can Conrad ever let his guard down enough to let love in fully? Will Jeremiah be able to stand strong if Belly's heart chooses another path? These are the questions the ending plants in the audience's mind, ensuring that the story continues to burn long after the credits roll. In the end, the breakdown of this final scene shows us that The Summer I Turned Pretty isn't just a teen love story. It's about how growing up means facing choices that will shape your life, choices that often come with loss, and the realization that love is as unpredictable and relentless as the ocean itself. Asterisk. If the final moments of episode 11 left you unsettled, it's because they were meant to. This wasn't just a love triangle ending on a quiet note. It was a meditation on love, loss, and the inevitability of change. Beneath the surface of every scene, there are themes and symbols carefully woven in to make the audience feel something more profound than just who will Belly choose. The most striking theme is the conflict between memory and growth. Belly stands as a bridge between the past and the future. On one side, she carries the nostalgia of summers spent with Susannah, the innocence of first crushes, and the safety of being someone's little sister, someone's childhood friend. On the other, she faces the pull of adulthood romance that is raw and complicated, decisions that will reshape her life, and the courage to claim her own identity. Episode 11 forces her to recognize that she cannot stay suspended between those two worlds forever. Symbolism breathes life into this theme, most notably through the summer house. More than just a backdrop, the house is a container of memory. Every corner carries echoes. Laughter in the kitchen, whispered secrets in bedrooms, tears shed quietly at night. When Belly lingers in the doorway, It isn't only about leaving a building. It's about leaving behind the part of herself that belonged to endless summers of childhood. The house symbolizes the innocence that cannot be reclaimed, no matter how much she wishes she could hold on to it. Another recurring symbol in this episode is the ocean. Throughout the series, water has represented change, transition, and cleansing. In the ending, the waves echo the turmoil inside Belly. They crash, recede. They return again and again, just like her conflicting emotions. The ocean tells us that love, like tides, can never be fully controlled. It moves with its own rhythm, sometimes gentle, sometimes violent, always reshaping the shore. When the camera frames Belly against the horizon, it's as if the ocean itself is asking her, which way will you let yourself be carried? The contrast between light and shadow also plays an important symbolic role. Jeremiah is often framed in brightness, his warmth, his easy smile, his openness, all align with daylight. Conrad, by comparison, is frequently shown in shadow or muted tones. He is the night, the unknown, the depth that frightens you, but also draws you in. Belly, caught between them, is framed in transitions, sunsets, twilight, liminal spaces that suggest she hasn't made her choice yet. These visual cues reinforce the idea that her heart is torn between the comfort of light and the mystery of darkness. There is also the theme of silence versus words. Jeremiah fills silence with speech. He reassures, he promises, he declares his love openly. Conrad, however, communicates in silence through hesitant glances, through words left unsaid, through the weight of restraint. Belly's journey is about learning which form of love resonates with her most deeply. Does she crave the certainty of being told she is loved every day, or does she crave the unspoken bond that has existed for years, even without constant reassurance? And then there is Susannah's presence felt, even in her absence. Though she isn't physically there, the episode carries her spirit like a ghost, woven into every scene. She is the reason these summers mattered. Her memory is what keeps Conrad and Jeremiah tethered to the house and to Belly. In many ways, Susannah symbolizes unconditional love, the kind of love that doesn't demand choices or sacrifices. Belly's struggle, then, is also about measuring her own relationships against that memory. Can she find a love that feels as whole, as nurturing, as irreplaceable as Susannah's? Finally, episode 11 underlines the theme of the end of innocence. Summer, by its nature, is fleeting. It cannot last forever. The title itself, The Summer I Turned Pretty, suggests transformation, but transformations are never painless. In the ending, we see Belly realizing that growing up means stepping into heartbreak, into ambiguity, into the reality that not every choice will make everyone happy. This is why the closing moments feel so heavy. They aren't just about who she might kiss or walk away with. They're about her crossing into adulthood, leaving behind the simpler version of herself. All these themes and symbols merge into one truth. The ending of episode 11 isn't meant to solve the love triangle. It's meant to remind us that love is rarely clean, memory always haunts us, and change is the only certainty. The house, the ocean, the light, the silence, they all whisper the same message. Summer is ending, and nothing will ever be the same again. The ending of episode 11 doesn't just leave us wondering about the future of the love triangle, it reshapes how we see every character. Each of them walks away from this episode carrying scars, growth, and questions they can't yet answer. That's what makes the impact of this chapter so powerful. It isn't about tying bows. It's about unraveling knots inside each person. Let's begin with Belly. For most of the season, she is moved like someone caught between shadows, afraid to commit, afraid to let go. In the final moments of episode 11, she isn't just deciding between Conrad and Jeremiah, she's deciding what kind of woman she wants to become. Her arc in this episode shows us the tension between the girl who clings to memory and the young woman who wants to step into her own power. Belly's silence in the last scene is deliberate, tells us that she is no longer willing to be rushed or defined by others. She is beginning to understand that her heart is not a prize to be won. It is a compass she must learn to follow. That's growth. That's painful, slow, necessary growth. Then there's Conrad. He is, without question, one of the most complex characters in the series. His quietness, often mistaken for coldness, is really just the armor he wears to protect himself from breaking apart. In episode 11, that armor slips. His glances, his hesitation, his choice not to speak at critical moments, they show a man torn between love and fear. Conrad's arc here isn't about winning Belly back in a dramatic gesture. It's about showing that he still loves her, even if he cannot say it out loud. And in that silence, we see his tragedy. He might lose the person he loves most because he doesn't know how to let himself be vulnerable. The ending leaves him on a precipice, and the audience can't help but ache for him. Jeremiah, by contrast, is all openness. His heart is his weapon, and he wields it without hesitation. He offers Belly safety, stability, and constant reassurance. But episode 11 shows us his greatest fear, that even after everything he's done, even after being the one who steps up, he might still come second in Belly's heart. His arc in this episode reflects that tension, the bravery of loving without walls, and the insecurity of wondering if that love will ever be enough. Jeremiah's impact in the ending is powerful because it forces us to ask a question. Is love about passion and history, or is it about presence and loyalty? His character embodies the latter, and he stands as a painful reminder that sometimes even the good guy fears being overlooked. Outside of the triangle, we cannot forget Laurel, Belly's mother. Though her presence in this episode is quieter, her impact is enormous. She represents the voice of maturity, the reminder that choices have weight. Laurel's gentle nudges remind Belly and the audience that love isn't just about desire. It's about the kind of life you want to build. In many ways, Laurel is the mirror for Belly's future. Someone who has lived through heartbreak, who has raised children, who has learned that love changes form over time. Her arc in this episode is subtle but essential. She is grounding, a force of reality in a world where everything feels swept up in teenage emotion. Stephen, Belly's brother, adds another layer. His humor and blunt honesty may seem like comic relief, but in episode 11, his arc shows us how much he cares for his sister's well-being. Stephen represents the outsider's perspective on the triangle. He knows both Conrad and Jeremiah intimately, and he recognizes the risks of either choice. His protective nature highlights another theme. Love doesn't just affect those inside the triangle. It ripples outward, shaping family dynamics and friendships in ways that last far beyond summer. And then there's Susannah's lingering presence. Even in absence, she shapes every decision, every conflict. For Conrad and Jeremiah, their love for Belly is tangled with their grief for their mother. For Belly, Susannah represents unconditional love, the kind of acceptance she longs for in her own romantic life. Her presence is like a ghostly hand guiding the story, reminding us that love and loss are always intertwined. In episode 11, the shadow of Susannah deepens the impact of every choice. She is the silent judge, the eternal reminder of what once was and what has been lost forever. Taken together, these arcs reveal the true brilliance of the episode's ending. It isn't about one character winning or another losing. It's about how each of them grows or fails to grow in the face of love's most painful tests. Belly learns that her heart is her own. Conrad reveals that silence can be as destructive as it is protective. Jeremiah shows that love given freely still comes with risk. Laurel and Stephen anchor the story in reality. And Susannah's memory reminds us that the past never fully lets go. The impact of episode 11 lies in how deeply it resonates with anyone who has ever loved, lost, or hesitated. It tells us that love is messy, that family is complicated, that growing up means facing choices that hurt even when they're right. Every character leaves the episode a little more broken, but also a little more real. And that's why this ending will stay with viewers long after the credits fade.